I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews, we have back with us Scott Shapiro, Head of Trading at Coinbase. Scott, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Likewise, it's been a few years since we last had you on, and I know Coinbase has grown significantly, and the industry overall, with ETFs, institutional investors, more assets on Coinbase. I'm excited to dive into all of the recent updates. I would love to start out our conversation again by, first of all, hearing a little bit on your background, how exactly you got into this and why you became so interested in it.
Yeah, crypto has been something I've been really interested in for probably 12 years now. I first learned about Bitcoin in 2013, and Coinbase was the place where I bought my first Bitcoin. But at the time, I was working in Web 2 at Facebook, now Meta, building advertising products back when nobody thought that social media advertising could work. And spent about a decade in that industry, pretty much the whole 2010s. And after I learned about Bitcoin in 2013 and then learned about Ethereum and just got more and more exposed to things like DeFi and other L1s and eventually L2s, I just realized that this was something I had to do full time. I couldn't just work in Web 2 and in big tech and be on the sidelines. And so in 2019, I made the jump to join Coinbase. And it wasn't something I took lightly because it was a big career change, a different industry, a much smaller company, a private company. 2019, for those who remember, was not an exciting market in crypto. It was pretty bear market, kind of like 2022, 2023. And I have no regrets. Everything has worked out really well in the past 5.5 years, coming up on 6 years. And I've had a great ride at Coinbase ever since.
That's an awesome story. And yeah, no regrets. Maybe we're biased working blockchain, but I feel like everybody in those Web 2 traditional social companies, like if they did what we've done, they would have no regrets too, because it's just so exciting and innovative. And I know your team has worked on a lot since you've joined. Maybe you can highlight some of the things that you and your team have built so far in those 6 years and what's been most impactful for you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing has been taking things that are really complex and distilling them down in a way that can scale to millions or tens of millions of people. And a couple of things I worked on when I first joined before I was kind of all in on trading were things like USDC rewards, being able to pay rewards on a stablecoin in 2019. Like, who knew what a stablecoin was or how to do rewards? Launching our staking products. So taking something where you had to run your own baker or your own validator and accept slashing risk, but pulling that down into like a simple mobile app with 2 taps that would allow you to start staking on a bunch of different networks. And then now more with trading, right? Taking really complicated concepts like perpetual futures and distilling them down in a way that works with a very safe, easy to use trading product that integrates with your fiat rails, with your bank account, with your spot trading, in an exchange where you have a counterparty you can really trust and not have to worry that your funds will still be there. So there's kind of a thread through all the things that I've worked on here, and I think that'll continue into the future too.
Yeah, no, I really love that, breaking down the barriers to entry and lowering the technical complexities. I feel like in the traditional world, we used to not very often see 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds like trading in the stock market. And I felt like there was more of a barrier, a mind barrier to entry. And now with crypto, people feel like I can be a professional trader, whether that happens overnight or they build up to it. But the products, making it easier to access, easier to understand, especially with those learn and earns you're talking about. If a $5, $10 little reward gets you into something, and that gives you the orange pill to realize this is the future of finance and banking, then you and your team have done your job.
Definitely.
And with the advanced trading, to dive more in on that, because I feel like that's important. That's really where you have all the options of what you want to do. It's not just USDC to Bitcoin in one button, which is great as well. But there's so many different things you can do. Can you talk about the advanced trading part that you and the team have built at Coinbase, and what are the options that you can potentially do?
Yeah, this was an area that I think we frankly neglected as a company for a number of years, and have really rotated back into advanced trading. So this is, you think of like the day trader with 6 or 8 monitors around their desk who's trading all day long and isn't hodling necessarily, is moving into cash or USDC overnight and then in the morning again, taking positions, looking for leverage, maybe using APIs to trade, segregating their accounts with multiple different portfolios or sub accounts. And this is an audience that is really taking crypto by storm because the properties of crypto are just so interesting for people who love trading. And a lot of people have come to this from traditional trading backgrounds and fixed income or commodities or something unrelated. But crypto trades 24/7. It settles instantly. It can be transferred instantly at scale using different blockchains. And so we looked at this a few years ago and said, we have to get serious here. And the first thing we did was that we combined our Coinbase Pro product with the Coinbase app. So you'd have one Coinbase app with all of your funds and all of your payment rails and everything in one place. And you can stake and you can earn yield and you can use Coinbase Card and you can trade with all the advanced features that people loved from Coinbase Pro. So we merged these things together. We have what's called advanced mode now, and you can toggle into that from that same app and access lots of different order types. Bracket orders is something we recently launched. We're working on order types like TWAP, time weighted average price. We're also rolling out attached orders so you can set an exit strategy when your open limit order is still pending. So you can open and exit without having to do anything later after you're now in the game. And then obviously derivatives, like we talked about, being able to let people go long, go short with leverage, and access instruments that we typically didn't have. We were a spot only business for a long time. So this has been a big focus for us. We've made a huge push since we last talked in 2024 of really putting ourselves out there on social media. We started a new X handle called Coinbase Traders, where we're speaking specifically to active traders, talking about everything that we're doing, learning from them, engaging them. We have a great social media team that runs that account. We've hosted a number of events in a couple dozen cities around the world, Miami and Zurich and Singapore, and showing up at Token 2049 and just really getting in touch with this audience. And it's really worked well. We've really seen a lot of growth. If you look at the Coinbase International Exchange, which is kind of the backbone, that's where all the liquidity sits for our perpetual futures products, which is really the most interesting corner of derivatives in crypto. We've seen phenomenal growth. And in fact, I think when we spoke last time, about a year and a half ago, we had not even launched that. There was no way for a retail user, an individual investor, to onboard and trade perpetual futures with Coinbase at that time. Later in 2023, towards the end of the year, we started rolling that out. And it grew very steadily and really hit an inflection point towards the end of the year. All this data is public. You can go on international.coinbase.com, or you can look at some of the aggregator sites of different exchange volumes, and you can see just how much growth in volume has happened on our perpetual futures as a result of that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's a great focus in getting that Coinbase traders and actually seeing, hey, there are people that are advanced traders trading on Coinbase, and with the different kind of financial products you have there, with the derivatives, time weighted average, getting beyond my scope of advanced trading. It sounds like there's enough tools there for people who are advanced to make that their home. One thing I'm curious though about is the assets, the spot assets, and then those assets moving into derivatives. How do you decide which are the new assets to list, and making a balance between quality versus quantity and the demand of the advanced traders saying, hey, we want to trade this?
Yeah, we take asset addition very seriously. This is one of the most complicated things that exists at the company because we want to make sure that everything we list has satisfied a number of criteria. And we put out some blog posts that talk about the different things we do. Paul Grewal, who's our general counsel, our head of legal, and Jesse Pollock, who's the head of Base product group at Coinbase, did a live stream last week or 2 weeks ago where they talked in depth about our listings process and listings decisions. And it's something where we have a number of rigorous reviews across legal considerations, compliance, security, to make sure that there's not, a way that like the token creator can just steal all the funds of the token holders, and to make sure that once we have satisfied all that criteria, that we can create an orderly and healthy market, that we can have sufficient liquidity on the buy and the sell side, with enough book depth that when traders start to come in, markets don't dislocate, markets are healthy and steady, and that they can stay that way. And so from the outside in, it might look like Coinbase's listings decisions are not intentional, but I can assure you that they are very intentional. And I think we've published a stat in the past that something like 90% of assets we review do not pass our bar, which is unfortunate. And we're always looking for ways where we can work with regulators to improve that, because we really want to be able to offer everything. I think we have about 270-ish, getting close to 300 spot assets for trading. When I joined Coinbase, I think we had less than 20. So That's a lot of growth. And we have over 100 perpetuals. I think the latest count is around 120 or 130. Many of those perpetuals, by the way, are not representing assets that Coinbase has spot listings on. And the reason for that, the international exchange is operated outside of the US and has slightly different regulatory obligations, whereas our spot exchange, Coinbase Exchange, is in the US, right, and has a lot of US laws and regulations that we take very seriously.
Yeah, no, that's a great note. And yeah, 10x in the amount of assets listed is pretty good. 270 assets. There's millions now, and many low quality with the ease of creating tokens. So I can see why a lot would be rejected. And you want to focus on quality, especially as the industry grows, making sure that the good projects. There's still a lot of great projects I know that I'm pretty sure aren't listed on Coinbase, and hopefully one day, if they can pass that high, rigorous test. So I'll look forward to seeing how that grows. And with the growth of institutional interest in Bitcoin and Ethereum in 2024, continuing now through this new administration, more likely, is the advanced trading just for retail traders, or is there also like an institutional play in that?
Yeah, great question. So advanced trading is part of the Coinbase app. The Coinbase app is for individuals, for people who are not professional money managers, who are not managing other people's money, but they're investing their own capital. And we have a separate product that is for asset managers, hedge funds, ETF providers. We call that Coinbase Prime. That's kind of our institutional grade product that has built-in prime brokerage services like an execution desk that can help with over-the-counter block trading. It has features around pre-trade and post-trade allocation, right? If you're an ETF provider and you have multiple funds and you're buying a block of Bitcoin and you need to allocate that Bitcoin to these different funds and make sure all the cost accounting works well, really kind of high-end things that the individual doesn't need. There's also not a mobile experience for Coinbase Prime, and I don't think it's any secret, but the dominant platform that people use Coinbase on is mobile, right? Because individuals always want to trade on the go, but money managers are generally in the office doing their thing on desktop and not trying to trade on the go on the weekends, although some do. And so that's kind of how we draw the line there. It's Coinbase Prime versus Coinbase Advanced.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good to know, and it makes sense. The institutions are at their desk. I have seen a few on X that are, using Coinbase, and they're on their phone, but I think they just become obsessed when the market starts trading 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's hard to put it down when, you're making so much 5 days a week. You're like, what's an extra 2 days? So, but that's where self-discipline comes in, to actually take a break and touch grass. And when you continue to grow advanced trading, how do you balance what's needed? You function. I'm sure there's a limit in, like, okay, now there's too much functionality. There's too many different options we can do, and it becomes overwhelming and actually lessens the user experience. So where's that balance in making a good user experience that's not too much stuff, but just the right amount of products and tools that you need?
Yeah, I guess the way we look at it is that the standard Coinbase trade experience has to work for everybody, no matter who they are. Whether it's a senior citizen or someone who just turned 18 and wants to take their hard-earned part-time wage and put it into crypto, it has to work for everybody. Advanced does not. Like, Advanced targets a specific segment of people who are thirsty for everything, for all the bells and whistles. Right, all of the order types. We started with 3 order types. Now we have 5 order types. We want to get to 8 order types before we, begin to even think about resting on that front. And we have a pipeline and a roadmap, and we're executing against all of that. Something like charting, we have a trading view integration with 108 different, technical indicators that people can overlay, and you can make your charts overly complicated very quickly. It's easy to get lost when you're doing that, but I think it's a feature, not a bug, of how we're building this product. Same thing with our API. So we have a REST API that you can use to build your own trading apps. You can use one of the third-party developers that we're integrated with, like In Silico Terminal or 3 Commas. There's a bunch of these that do really good stuff. And power and kind of feature richness is a feature and a kind of a technical explicit design decision that we're bringing in. Now we have to do it in a coherent, intuitive way. We don't want to put stuff in a weird spot that people aren't going to understand, or overload the app such that you open your mobile Coinbase Advanced and it takes 5 seconds to load because we've jammed too much stuff in there. We have to be really thoughtful about how we cache data versus stream data, and how we present data, and how we give you toggles and options to customize the interface, because different people care about different things. And one man's stop limit is another person's, TWAP, and they should be able to make the decision about what they're seeing front and center. So we have more work to do on that customization front as well, but we're just constantly talking to active traders all over the world, not just the US. We're trying to really branch out and talk to folks in Europe and Asia and Latin America, and make sure we have a really good read on what they need and what the highest priority things for us to do are. And we know we still have a long way to go, and we're not going to let up until we've gotten to a place that we think is, a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And there definitely are a lot of functions on TradingView, and a lot of things I've yet to explore on advanced trading as well. So, but I'm sure there's other people that rely on those tools, and everyone trades a little different. So that's why you have to have that feature rich. So that makes sense. And I'm curious about the growing trend of decentralized trading and indexes, and Coinbase having the centralized part and a balance between. I'm sure decentralized trading is still a huge majority, but there is that growing interest in decentralized trading. How does Coinbase deal with that?
Yeah, so decentralized trading, on-chain trading is the future. Like, we fully accept that. There's a very important role that centralized exchanges play right now, and I think will play for a long time. But the world's moving on-chain, and we know it, and we have made a lot of investments there, like we talked about with the Base layer 2 network that we've been building, and that's barely not even 2 years old and has really captured the EVM ecosystem by storm. Coinbase Wallet is a phenomenal app that we're doing a lot of work on. It's going to get really good and offers a very native integrated trading experience. And there's a number of competitors there too that offer self-custodial on-chain experiences. And so one of the things we're thinking about is how can we bring in the power of on-chain, not just trading, but overall, to the Coinbase app. And one of the things you've seen us announced recently is the lending product where you can take Bitcoin in your Coinbase account, and with just a couple taps, you can collateralize that on chain, borrow funds that are in the Morpho protocol, which is not something that is an important detail, but for this audience, I think they might be interested in that. And then that USDC shows up in your Coinbase account, and you can spend it, transfer it, do whatever you want with it. But in this case, the lender is the Morpho protocol. The counterparty are all the other people who have supplied to that Morpho pool. Coinbase is simply helping you, the user, sign an on-chain transaction to facilitate that lending and then eventually the repayment of those funds for that loan. And there's a lot of other things that we're interested in exploring on that front too, not just trading, but other types of on-chain things that people are doing right from your Coinbase account without having to memorize a seed phrase and store a backup somewhere and worry about losing access to that one day, right? Because it's secured by the same security and passkey that people love in their Coinbase account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I saw that recent update, and I think that's really cool because people get deep into crypto and Bitcoin. They don't want to give it up. They're like, I need to get some capital somehow, but I don't want to sell my crypto and back into the bank account. So having products like that, I feel like, is of great growing interest. And further to the Base and Coinbase Wallet, I actually know a lot of people that they, maybe they don't have advanced trading on Coinbase as their main trading platform, but they're using Base, they're using Coinbase Wallet. I feel like it's two great platforms that are driving millions of more people into the Coinbase ecosystem, which helps you guys. And it's not just a centralized trading platform. There's all these other tools.
That's right. There's a family of really good apps that all work together. And one of the usage patterns we see is that people know that there's a lot of assets that are tradable on chain, and will come to Coinbase looking for those, and they'll see that the asset is not available to buy on Coinbase, but there will be a call to action that says trade this on Coinbase Wallet, and you tap that. It then takes you to the Coinbase Wallet app, deep links you onto the kind of swap screen for whatever asset you were looking at. And then you can use the funds in your Coinbase Wallet to trade, or you can on-ramp funds from your Coinbase account, maybe even from your bank account if you didn't have any other crypto in your Coinbase account, to then trade. And we hear a lot of great things from people about that experience. It's still two apps though. Ideally, we'd be able to do more of this integrated all on chain within the Coinbase app. This is something that we're thinking a lot about, kind of a parallel to some of the advanced trading approaches that we talked about too. Very
cool. And with Base Chain, I feel like when decentralized trading and DEXs were getting started, there's a limit to the user experience and the inefficiencies compared to a centralized exchange, like the speed, transaction cost. But it seems like Base has sort of, so to say, solved a lot of those problems. It looks like there's a huge user base that's growing, despite the market conditions being sideways or not up only, and the trading cost seems equivalent or maybe even better than centralized trading.
Yeah, the trading is not facilitated by the Base team per se, but by the developers who build liquidity pools on Base. And you have protocols like Airdrome that have built phenomenal pools and liquidity and following, and have a really interesting incentive model and governance model that seems to have worked really well and has grown liquidity on chain on Base. And there's a lot of other developers doing a lot of interesting things on Base as well. The Base team has been pounding the pavement and going all over the world and courting developers. And we've even done a couple acquisitions of some teams to join Base to make a more, even robust offering for developers in terms of, the on-chain tools that they have, through Coinbase Developer Platform. The throughput that Base can handle. There's been a lot of work to improve, the gas limit for Base, the number of users that are on Base, because developers want to go to where the users are, and then tools for those developers like advertising, so if they can acquire users for their apps. We acquired a company called Spindle that is probably the most prominent Web3 focused advertising product, advertising network. It doesn't really exist. That's my prior life, and so I think it's fascinating that we're focused on that too.
Definitely, and yeah, no, I'm really excited for the future of Base and seeing what else, more applications, more users. There's still millions and millions of people who need to get into crypto and realize the benefits of owning your own finances. And I feel like Base and the Coinbase team are going to be working hard to make sure that those millions of people are using your guys' platforms as the go-to choice.
Totally.
So looking forward, with the potential of more millions coming in, probably many millions in 2025 alone, thanks to the administration, new administration being pro-crypto, and just overall, people realize that as Bitcoin and crypto grows, they need to get in on this movement. What are you and the Coinbase team doing to, what are you building, or how are you looking to grow and catch those next millions of users?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of anticipation and optimism on the new administration. New CFTC chair was just announced, for example. SEC is full of new folks at the leadership level, and it'll be really interesting to see exactly what regulation shakes out of this and what specific kinds of opportunities are enabled. And so, I think, as opposed to saying that there's one thing that we're going to go do now, I think it's more of we need to just stay on the bleeding edge of where regulation in the U.S. goes, and other places too. Right? There's elections and regulatory, turnover, not just in the U.S., but as a business very focused on the U.S., we take the U.S. very seriously, and so we are making sure that we're ready to pounce on whatever opportunities come up, and that we're not just picking a winner right now of something interesting to go do. And, a lot of this revolves around, I'm not an expert in this area, but something that, I've had to learn a lot about is like securities regulation and what is a security and what is not a security. Who regulates those things that we can't decide if they're securities or not today? Is it the SEC? Is it the CFTC? And so as all that gets shaken out, I think it'll open up a lot of opportunity. A lot of the growth, frankly, in crypto in the last year has come from meme coins, a lot of the volume in trading, and that's fine. Like memes are fascinating, right? It's like this interesting cultural moment and way of prescribing, value and creating attention and information economics that there's no prior real Web 2 or Web 1 or offline version of this. It's a very uniquely Web 3 thing. But really, I think what I get excited about is when Fortune 500 start taking this seriously and say, oh, we can actually issue equity on rails, or we can tokenize our TradFi equity and offer a tokenized version of this. And that can be used in DeFi, and it can be used in DEXs, and maybe there's permissions and KYC that needs to move on chain. That's where I think things start to go really mainstream, as opposed to crypto finding its niche in areas that we wouldn't kind of consider mainstream in the past.
Definitely, I think that's a really important point. We've sort of proven out the model of we can trade faster, cheaper, without limits of 9 to 5, and this is something that can be used by the traditional markets. And now it's just, once we have the administration hopefully pave that way to allowing, opening the floodgates of, let's tokenize securities, let's get the stock market trading with T0 and all the time, and get those major FANG stocks even on the blockchain. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Scott, what's the best way to follow along with the updates for Coinbase and stay on the bleeding edge as a viewer to see what's coming out next?
Yeah. So you can always follow me. I'm just Scott Shapiro on Twitter, just first name, last name. Coinbase Traders, again, specifically for that trader audience, is the place to go to. Coinbase Exchange, Coinbase Assets, Coinbase International Exchange are all Twitter handles that talk about those more specific things. Obviously, we have our overall Coinbase, main handle, which is largely talking about kind of the highest level topics. And my favorite thing that comes out of that is when we're previewing our new ads, because I think our creatives are just incredible. So that's great entertainment there. Those are the best places. We have a blog as well, for people who want to go into more detail, and try to be active on our Reddit community as well. But I think X is really where most of the action tends to go. And then in our products, we announce new features. So if you're using advanced trading, we launch a new order type, or we have a new asset listing. We try to make that very prominent to people who are there as well.
Definitely. I'll leave some of those links in the show notes below. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming out next for Coinbase. I really do appreciate you coming back on the show with all these updates. And it's great to see the growth of the industry and Coinbase's growth alongside it. Would love to follow up again, Scott, in the near future.
That'd be great, Ashton. It was awesome to catch up today.